Funding for Start the Beat is provided in part by our supporters on Patreon. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Start the Beat with Sykes. My name is Sykes and this is my podcast. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone who checked out the last episode. If you're one of those people, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much for coming back. But for everyone out there who's new to the show, welcome. Feel free to make yourselves at home. And as always, there's beer, soda, or some giant Eagle water in the fridge. Cheers. So, hope everyone's doing well out there today in the internet, whatever you're doing, whether you're working, doing the dishes, doing the laundry, whatever it is. I hope it's treating you well. I am sitting here today with someone who I consider to be a friend and a blue collar gentleman working hard, rocking and rolling here in the good old US of A. Everyone, please make some noise for my friend, Jon the Werewolf. So, for everyone that doesn't know who the heck you are, why don't you let the good old fine people of this planet Earth know what the fuck is good?
Well, my name is Jon Belan from the band Jon the Werewolf. Yeah, I think that's pretty much
short,
just a little local and at heart, you know.
Short and sweet. So I think that, you know, we may have touched on this before in the past, but let's get it out of the way now. Your name is not Jon.
It is not Jon. Jon is the alter ego of Jon. So you can kind of see the similarities. You know, Jon. Jon is the son of a bitch, the partier, the rock and roll god, and Jon Belan is the guy that's the wishes he could be Jon, you know?
All right. So we have a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde of rock and roll here happening.
That's it.
Except you turn into a werewolf, supposedly. Had you ever considered like a full-on werewolf costume, or is that just too much?
Well, it's funny because when we first started, we were really down. When we first started as a band, we were extremely down to go, follow every avenue and do the most extreme things possible. But I think as we started playing more shows, things it just got harder and harder to lug all that shit around. And we were just like, I think we're just going to be a normal rock and roll band at this point, you know? So that was a consideration, but we quickly got rid of the idea.
Sure. The gimmick, if you will, it's a hard shtick to keep going, and I commend any bands that are still doing it, although most of the popular ones are able to afford, you know, they can get extra people to carry and lug all that shit around for them, and they have sweet buses. They're not, you know, trying to stuff all this shit in the back of their like Toyota Corollas or whatever the fuck to get to the gig.
I'm amazed at like bands like Kiss or something like that, you know, every day on every single show on their 1 million farewell tour, they have to put that makeup on and all that gear, and it's just like I seriously couldn't even imagine. We were complaining about putting on like white suits at a period of time in our life, and we were just like, yeah, this is just too much.
Yeah. So for like anyone,
the road crew, I guess.
Yeah. I think the road crew probably helps a shit ton. And also, like, when's the last time a band like Kiss was even in the studio? Do they still put out albums?
I don't think so.
Like,
you would want to. I mean, for a band like Kiss, you're that famous, you could literally just tour nonstop, playing songs that you wrote 30 years ago. It's like, why write new music?
Yeah, they probably barely even have to rehearse. So literally the only time they have to spend is just like, you know, putting on the makeup.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, if they're not even playing the backtracks at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they were.
Well, I think they are. I actually went to go see them when they came to PPG, and they came down and they were singing. What the hell did they open up with? It was I can't remember what they opened up with, but Paul Stanley came off the riser. You know, they came down from the ceiling on those big risers that, you know, lower to the ground, and I think they forgot to silence Paul Stanley's real mic, and I think they forgot to turn on the backing vocals, because the first couple of notes out of his mouth were probably some of the worst notes I've ever heard in my life. And then I think someone was like, "Oh shit," and then he was perfect. You know what I mean? There's some serious auto tune going on there.
Uh-huh. That's so fucking funny. So for people that aren't familiar with Gene the Werewolf, you are a rock and roll group. You've been playing shows in the Pittsburgh area for the better part of a decade, if not longer. How long has Gene the Werewolf been a band?
We've been a band since 2007.
Okay, so longer.
Yeah, we've been around for a long time. And I don't know. We're just a band that started off trying to, make it, quote unquote, make it. But now, as time progressed, we're just kind of really, really happy staying here in the Berg and making a name for ourselves here. And we just want to keep on, putting out new songs, putting out new music, and just have fun for a bunch of old guys.
Sure.
As long as we could make it.
Sure. If you don't mind, I would actually like to talk about that ceiling that I feel people like you and myself have hit. Whereas, most people, I feel I could say hey, Gene the Werewolf, and they know who the fuck you are. A lot of people have seen you live, and you have a decent following in the city. But there's that thing where it's there's a ceiling that happens as a creator. That's what the fuck is this? When did you think was the first time maybe you were starting to feel this sort of okay, we're trying to make this happen full time, opening up for Kiss, this is what we want to do, and then all of a sudden it's just kind of fuck, man, we've literally put everything that we can into this, and for whatever reason it's not working. What was that like?
Well, I think right from the very, very beginning, we all came, our band kind of formed, I don't want to say by accident, but we kind of formed in the sense that all of our old bands had kind of just died off and kind of not existed anymore, and we weren't ready to quit. At this point in our, this, like I said, 2007 is 13 years ago. We were all in our early 30s, late 20s, and we were like, look, there's no reason why we can't just continue going. And I think at that point in our life, none of us were married, none of us had kids, and we were just really, really excited to start something new. And I think anytime you start a new band, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You're just kind of let's just try to make it everything we could be. And we had some great things happen for us. We got to open up for a lot of cool people. A lot of people we opened up for that we listened to growing up that we never thought imaginable. We had an album come out in Europe on an Italian label, Frontiers Records, and they had the same people on their label like Def Leppard, Whitesnake, Journey. So a lot of that was really, really cool, but it came to a point in time where, I don't know, maybe say it's 6 years down the road, we were just still in the same place. As for as many highs as you get, there's just as many, if not more, lows. And there's a lot of rejection, and things are just tough. And unfortunately for us, it just got to the point where a lot of the guys, were graduating college, and they're like, man, this isn't really, we're not really touring. I'm going to get a job. And then, sooner or later you get married, and then a couple of the guys now have kids and are married. And it just, it just kind of, I don't want to say it comes second, because we're all really, really 100% into the band, but it just comes, there's other priorities now. And I think we've all come to terms with that. And so it's just, it's something that we love to do. And now we look at it in the sense that we're hey, we're in our early 40s, late 30s now, and we still get to rock, out in public, and still get to do this. And we feel really grateful because of that. So we kind of look at it that way.
Yeah, I think that it's fun to watch you guys work, because you put on a hell of a show, and whenever it comes to releasing content, you're always putting out really fun music videos, and you do really fun good studio production. Whenever you are contributing creatively to the landscape that is music, it's always a really worthwhile contribution. So it's fun, and it's just it's obnoxious to me, though, just personally, seeing a band that I feel puts in so much, and just the return on investment is always dog shit. It's so strange. I don't know what it is. Is there just too much art in the world? Is the world too crazy right now? Is it just a bad time to be doing anything that's not talking about a virus or a president? I don't know.
It's funny. We've always been one of those bands that take when I say take things seriously, I mean, as far as production is concerned, we try to look professional. You know, we try to put out videos that we would watch. We try to write music that we would listen to. We're not one of those bands that are kind of like that are able to do the DIY recording and like kind of like do the, you know, we'll record, we'll just go and record the song over at Drew's basement and then we'll put it out on a demo. And we've never been that, we don't even really play that kind of music to even do something like that. We're kind of like always been like a big like production kind of band. And I think with that, we've always kind of said, you know, this is our passion. This is what we really, really like to do. And so let's just try to do it good, you know?
Yeah. I think that there's a very like larger than life sort of aspect to Gene the Werewolf and the character that is air quote Gene. So to like, you can't like cheapen it in order to like sell it appropriately. Yeah. It has to look like what the fuck is like, you know, very big and over the top. So I'm like, I'm always been curious about bands in that demographic of music, because the kind of stuff that you do for, you know, a simple term would just be like, this is like stadium rock and roll. Like this is built for like tens of thousands of motherfuckers to like drink and dance to. That's the kind of stuff you do. But like on an independent level, how does a band start out like that? Because like I guess you could play a bar and it'll work, but it doesn't, like, you can't play like a small DIY venue the way that like maybe like a punk or a metal band can. Like you need to always have some level of production, but it's like harder to obtain when you're starting. Do you think that like the fact that all of you had already been in bands and had this experience prior to Gene the Werewolf starting like helped you out because you already kind of had connections?
Yeah, I think it was that. But you know, when we first started out, we started playing those DIY venues and we started up like playing with like bands that really did not sound like us, and it was just literally because we were friends with a lot of those bands. And there have been a couple times when we first started where in the beginning we would open up for like some like pop punk bands or like punk bands or like, and the people of the crowd we never got booed or anything like that, but I would think people would look at us and be like, what is going on right now? Like they honestly didn't know how to take it. The big thing that really, really pushed us forward a little bit was we were releasing one of our albums. I think it was our second album, and we got to play the morning show on DVE, and we played one of our songs called "I Only Want to Rock and Roll" live on the air. And when we got done playing it, Randy Bauman, the DJ, came down into the studio and was like, dude, that was fucking awesome. Like, what do you guys do? And we were just, you know, we were like, this is like back in 2011. And we were just like, oh, you know, well, we're trying to do all we can, you know? And he's like, I'm going to get this song on the radio. And we're like, oh yeah, that'd be great. You know? And we thought he maybe just like the local night, maybe like the Sunday night. And sure enough, it was probably like maybe like a week or two before Christmas, we got a call from the station, like from the guy that runs things. And he's like, hey, we're going to add your song into rotation. And that was just like the biggest, like all of us growing up listening to DVE was just kind of like, oh my God, what does that mean exactly? They're like, you're going to be in the mix, sandwiched between the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, AC/DC, Motley Crue, you know. And we were just like, all right, I'll believe it when I hear it. And then sure enough, one night I was riding around in the car and my song came on the radio. And that really was what opened up a lot of doors for us. It was just kind of like, after that happened, we were opening up for like Ted Nugent. We were opening up for Eddie Money. And so all these cool things happened just because the one morning we decided, hey, let's play our song on DVE at the morning show. So that was kind of like the separation where things started to pick up for us right there. And then ever since, they've just been great to us. It's been awesome. So.
That is super awesome. I think that there's so much, you know, about taking advantages of opportunities and like the kind of music that you guys do being so fun and accessible and relatable. I feel like, you know, there's so many cool opportunities that you could take advantage of. So that's like always the thing that kind of like rubs me the wrong way personally about a lot of the music that I do is like, I love everything that I do, but I wish it was more like palatable to like a bigger audience, just because we're not that like festival band. We're not the band that play. I mean, we did play a set we did live from 105.9 The X a couple years ago, and that was cool, but I still was like even surprised that happened. Like, you know, it was like one of those things where it's like, this is like a little bit much, I think, a little bit aggressive for the crowd.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the same thing. Like in our end, where we'll talk about headlining a show. We're like, all right, well, once everything clears, let's put on a show. We'll put about like 3 or 4 bands on the show, make it a nice, and then we'll get to that point. We're like, well, who are we going to get to play? Because I mean, literally, it sounds so funny, and I never even really thought about this until we actually experienced it. But there's literally no rock and roll bands. When I say rock and roll, I mean like rock and roll, like the AC/DCs or the Van Halens. It's just like, it's not, there's like, who do you pick? Because then you don't want the show to be a mix of like, I mean, it'd be awesome to have that with all your friends, but then like, it's kind of like, who do you get to open up for you when you play music like that? We've struggled looking for bands to open for us. It sucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It could be
bands out there that sound like us want to open for us. Let us know.
Yeah, I think that it's that like finding your spot in the community is kind of weird, and I like have gone through this because like I always exist in this gray area where like, oh, like I'm too heavy for this crowd but not heavy enough for that crowd, or maybe like it's the thing with you where it's like, oh, like you guys are a little too loud to play with these bands but you're not like hard enough to play with these bands. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I think
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, but I think what's cool is that like you guys have been able to carve your own path and get to a point where like, you don't have to like grind and play all these like bullshit shows at like the Smiling Moose or wherever. Like you can do something and headline a show like once every, in Pittsburgh, like once a year, twice a year if you want, play the festivals, and like you're fine. Like you don't need to do anything else outside of that. So it's not like a huge thing where, some other bands, like it's the idea of them like renting out like Mr. Smalls to fill it is like impossible. Sure. It's never going to happen.
Well, believe it or not, I know some of the guys in the band would disagree with me, but some of those shows, like playing like at the Smiling Moose or playing like Bill's Tavern, or you know what I mean, just like that kind of. I love those shows. I mean, it's just a room of 50-person capacity, and it reminds me of like where it all started. And I think it's we've talked about there's a place. I live in Bell Vernon, which is probably about 40 miles from the city, and there's a bar in the neighboring town that always has local shows. And I'll go to the local shows and I'll watch my friends' bands play, or I'll go see them play. And I'm like, man, I would love to play a show here. And I think I love that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I've grew up doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I would, that's not. We never rule that out. It's just that most of the guys now, like I said, it's weird for us to lug all of our equipment down to a show, and our drummer's married, our guitar player's married, our other guitar player's engaged, and 2 of the guys have kids. It's just like, well, if we're we kind of get a little bit get to be a little bit more picky now because we have to prioritize other things in our lives as well. So they want to make it extremely worthwhile.
Well, the other thing too, and I've had this debate in conversation. We won't call it a debate. It's a conversation. I've had this with people that I play in bands with where, it's like, well, why are we playing this show? Like, it's cool to go play a show down at, say, the Smiling Moose with like, 100 people that are cool, but those people have already seen us play.
Sure.
Why are we lugging our gear around? It's like, I'd rather let's just have a party or just invite everybody out. That way we don't have to carry around a bunch of shit. We can actually enjoy the company of these people. It's like really most of the time what we want to do when we're playing shows is just see our friends.
Exactly.
I mean, like there are opportunities to make new fans at some shows. Like if we're playing a Millvale Music Festival, or if we're opening up for like XYZ band at whatever, and if there's an opportunity there, and that's cool. But if it's just a show that's kind of like, a masturbatory event of a bunch of local bands playing to their friends, it's like, leave the gear at home. Let's just hang out with our friends. This is how I feel now.
We've gotten to the point in our or I shouldn't say career, but in our band's span where our friends are sick of coming out. They're sick of coming out and watching us. They're just like, dude, I've seen you guys 50 times. So now we know that when we play a show, there's a lot of people there. They are new people. So we kind of at least know that now. But no, I know what you mean. We've definitely played shows before, and it's like, wow, that was pretty awesome. And then we're like, well, it's crazy because like a lot of the people there were people that would have came to see us, regardless, I've
always been not surprised because I'm the same way, but I feel a kinship to you in your unreasonable level of chill versus whatever the stage persona of you is. Have you always been that way, or were you a wilder teenager and maybe mellowed out in your older years?
No, man, I've always been kind of like a mild mannered. In my immediate family, they'll tell you different. My mom will always say, Geminis have split personality. I'm a Gemini, and she's like, "And you sure as hell do have a split personality," But we played a show. When we were back in years ago, we were talking to a management company, and we wanted a management company to manage us, obviously. And we flew this guy out to watch us play a show we headlined at Diesel. Everything was going great. We sold it out, and we had a good lineup, and we were getting ready to rock, and people were there to watch us. And we played the show, and after the show was over, the guy told us, "Yeah, I mean," he goes, let's work together." And we were like so thrilled. And he goes to me, he goes, "I'll have to be honest with you." He goes, "If I wouldn't have seen you play on stage, I probably wouldn't have wanted to work with your band." I'm like, "Well, why is that?" He goes, "Because I saw you." And he was talking to me backstage. He goes, "You were just like this soft-spoken guy and like this nice guy." And he goes, "I thought I came here to see some fucking asshole off the place, He goes, and he's like, "What the hell did I get myself into?" And he goes, "When you got on stage," he goes, "I didn't realize you were even the same person." So it's just, I don't know. I just get real comfortable on stage doing that. And I think, believe it or not, the sunglasses help a lot, because then I don't really have to look at anybody directly, or people don't really see me directly in the eyes. So it's kind of like a little bit of a mask, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
That's so funny. So how did the whole working with a management company thing pan out?
They managed us. It was actually the same management company that managed Kid Rock.
Wow.
And we were ecstatic. We're like, "Yes, this is awesome." And this is right before our first album came out. So we had been working on our first album for a whole year, and we were going to release our album in October. And this management company signed us on in January. So the whole year we were working on our album, and right before our album came out, the guy that was managing us, super nice guy, nothing bad to say about him. His company upstreamed him, and he basically, I think maybe he went and he worked for a bigger management company. And when he started working for a bigger management company, he was managing like Slash, and these rock gods. And then he was just kind of like, "Guys, I'm so sorry." He goes, "I can't take you guys on anymore." He goes, "My roster is full. I can't really work with anyone, independent anymore." And he goes, "It's just unfortunate the way it turned out." And we were like, "Well, that sucks, but it was fine. We did what we had to do." And so right before our album came out, they dropped us. And we all just laughed about it. We were just like, of course that happened, But everything makes for a good story, and that's what matters,
Yeah. How do you feel, over the past decade, particularly the past half decade, the music industry has really, really fucking changed a lot, with promotions and marketing and social media and all this stuff. And we're not getting any younger. And, day by day, I start to feel more and more disconnected from all of these things that people are using to promote their music. How do you feel about all this stuff?
It's kind of crazy, and it's kind of ironic you brought that up, that lately, and I realize I'm probably about 4 years late on this subject, but I recently just started getting into Spotify, and I'm so embarrassed to say that, because we'd be at our shows and people would come up to us after our show and be like, "Hey, where can I find your music?" And I would be the old guy that was like, "You could download it on iTunes," or you could, and I thought that was still a popular, outlet. And our guitar player, Drew, came up to me one day. He's like, "Dude, you got to stop telling people to download our song on iTunes." He says, "You sound like you're 60 years old." I said, "Well, what are they supposed to do?" He goes, "Tell them to go to Spotify." So I literally recently just started getting into Spotify and finding out how it works. And our last single, our single we just put out a couple weeks ago is like, "That's right." I'm like, "Go to Spotify." And it's crazy. When I started playing in a band, we were making demo tapes that we would high speed dub on our parents' stereo. And, you had to hurry up and dub 50 of them for your show that was coming up on Friday. And then you get rid of them and be like, "Well, shit, now I got to go out and buy fucking tapes again."
Yeah.
It wasn't even CDs. It was literally tapes. So to go from that into like the way we are now, I mean, I guess it's just that's the way it is. Things change. I've always been one to say that the greatest thing in the world about the internet is you could literally record a song in your bedroom and give it to the whole world. But the worst thing in the world about the internet is you could literally record a song in your bedroom and give it to the whole world. You know what I mean? So it's got its ups and downs, and who knows, man.
Yeah, the one thing that I haven't really said this too much out loud, but I'm not necessarily like hiding my feelings on this, but I don't think that everybody should be able to get music on Spotify.
I agree with you, man. I totally agree with you in the sense that it doesn't set anybody apart.
Yeah. You know, if I look at a place like Spotify now, it's a digital marketplace. It's like a digital national record mart or whatever record store you want to name, FYE, whatever. And, you know, you walk into this store and you're kind of looking for, you know, something that has a cool cover, and you expect anything that you buy at that store to at least have a certain level of quality.
Yeah, right,
and I'm not saying that like people don't have the right to release their music online, but like I feel like there needs to be a thing. Like there was a time when anybody couldn't just get their music on Spotify. Same thing with iTunes. Just much like there was a time when like if you had your music on a CD, it like meant something. Like, oh wow, they have shrink wrap CDs, and like it just bums me out now because like a large portion of Spotify's demographic, it's just demos, essentially what it is. Demos masked as full-length albums or, you know, actual releases. And it's kind of a bummer because now when you tell people you have music on Spotify, it doesn't really like hold a status because it's like you worked your ass off to record the single or this album and get the album artwork together and get it up so it's streaming. But like you said, basically the beauty is that anybody can do it and the terrible thing is that anybody can do it. I don't know.
No, I totally agree with you. It's the same thing as like touring. I guess it would make, you know, would be a comparison. Is when I was a teenager many years ago, if I would go to a local show and someone said, "Hey, this band that's playing here tonight is from Ohio," I'd be like, "Whoa, that's crazy! That's awesome!" So like, you know, there was a time where like if you were like a touring band, that meant you were serious. Like you were the real deal. Like these guys are out there touring. This is, you know, before the internet and stuff like that. It was just, you were out there doing it and people thought of you as more than what you were because you were really out there doing it. And I would imagine that's what labels used to think too. But now, and in, like I said, in no bad way, I think it's great that people go out and tour. And I think music is the best thing in the world, but it's just, the luster isn't there anymore because just like, well, everybody can do it now. You know what I mean? It's just like, all you need is just, you know, you need the internet and just see, let's see, these guys went here, here, and here, and they played here and here and here. Let's call these people up. Like back in the day, you literally had to like, okay, let's get I don't even know how people did it back then. Like it was just like, you had to know the spots from word of mouth. And it's just not special anymore. I don't think. I think it's one of those things that it's like, well, again, you got to find something else that sets you apart now. You know?
Yeah, it's in some ways it's become a lot easier as a result of the technology and the access to information. But now everything's very bottlenecked. It's a lot harder to get a gig out of town on a random night because you're one of 2,000 bands. Everybody has access to these email accounts. Everybody has access to these phone numbers, address information. It's so, you know, it's really, really surprisingly hard to do stuff, but it, you know, the idea seems simple, but it can be hard. But also, you know, that I think that wildly varies between different genres of music as well.
Oh, sure. And another thing that I've even been talking about lately is, you know, it sucks that Facebook is like the outlet because I'm really hoping there's another site in the very, very near future where you could promote your band better than what Facebook does. Because when Facebook first came out and you started a band page, if people went to your band page and liked your band page, then they saw everything you posted. Everything you posted showed up in their news feed. You could send them each individual messages. And it was great because it's like, wow, these people are liking my band and they want to see what I have. Now Facebook, for some reason, and I don't even understand the logic behind it, but they came up with this boost post, which we're definitely guilty of using, but it's only because Facebook limits your audience of who sees your posts.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks because, like all these people come to our page and they like our page. They actually go through the effort and press that like button because they want to see what Gene the Werewolf is doing. But then you post something, and we posted something one time and it got like 50 likes. And I'm like, we have 5,000 followers on our page. Why are only 50 people seeing this? You know? And we had talked to a few people like, hey, did you see our post the other day? And they're like, no. So Facebook wants you to use that boost button. Facebook wants you to use their ad campaigns, and they want you to pay so people see your shit. But realistically, people have already come to your page and hit like so they could see your shit, but now you got to pay for Facebook to show it to them. It's so weird, man. That's one thing I hate about Facebook, and it sucks. Mm-hmm. And then they have the nerve, while I'm on this rant, then they have the nerve that when you pay to get something boosted, they have the nerve to say, well, if it doesn't follow our guidelines, we won't even boost it for you. You can't have any smoking. You can't have any swearing. You can't have any, whatever. And so then they put a filter on what they want what you want to boost. And it's just such a gamble to even rely on Facebook to get fans anymore. I wish there was something else.
Yeah. Yeah. I have said this before, but I fully believe that like, if you have a page that has like if you have a page that has under 100,000 likes, you shouldn't be treated to the same marketing shit that like a Coca-Cola or a Pepsi or a Nike, because it's the same shit. Yeah. And the thing that pisses me off is like, obviously I don't work for Facebook, so I'm sure they're making a lot of money off these boosts, but I feel like what would be more worthwhile in the end, getting that $5, $10, $20 from bands like us, once a week, or just letting us build up to a point that we could actually afford to pay $500 a week for marketing. Sure. Because you've helped us build this fan base up, even if it's not a band, whether it's like a fucking bakery or someone's laundromat or someone's cafe, like whatever, like help build up these small businesses to a point that they can actually afford to give you some real fucking money instead of like, choke holding that $5, $10, but I'm sure they're making a lot of money off that $5, $10.
Oh, sure. And they know damn well that everybody's going to do it. It's just going to happen. Like people are going to do it. And like I said, it sucks. We're guilty of it too. But like, when we release a new song, like we just did, we wanted people to see that we released a new song. And, we're like, it's like, if we don't boost this post, then, I mean, it's not, nobody's going to see it because Facebook's just not going to let people see it.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's so weird because you can get into these rabbit holes of thinking that you understand how the algorithm works. Yeah, right. But also too, there's like a relatability that happens with like things where one time on Gray Walker, we literally just posted a photo of a gray walker, like an old man walker. That was it. No text, no caption, just a picture of that. And it got like over 250 likes in like an hour. With nothing. It was just like, we just posted it. So for some reason, people saw that, but they didn't see the music videos that we posted. It's like, well, what the fuck let that pass through? So it makes me, it's like, you think you have it figured out, but like, I don't. I have no idea why that worked.
I wish I knew the answer. I mean, we'll stay up the night. Like we'll say, okay, new song's going to come out on Friday. Let's make the post. And then like, we were like, literally like, well, okay, is this going to meet the guidelines? Is this going to boost? Is it going to post on time? And then sometimes they approve the boost in an hour. Sometimes they approve it in 24 hours. And it's just, it sucks. You never know what you're getting into. And like I said, Facebook has they have the ability, if they really, really wanted to make it so easy for any company, any brand to put their stuff out there. And they continue to put limits on it. And I understand that they probably filter a lot of it because there's probably just a lot of quote unquote crap. I'm not just saying bands. I'm just saying like brands or anything like that. But man, they don't make it easy at all. And it's just, they make you really open up your wallet to just get out to a couple hundred people. And that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem paying for promotion if it's a legitimate promotion. I understand that like Facebook is a free service. And while they have, definitely bottlenecked my outcomes, I've definitely sold plenty of merchandise and gotten plenty of video views and shared, I've used it to my advantage. A free service, you can't really complain too much. But there is a fine line where it's like, you know, if I'm paying for a certain thing, I kind of want to get that thing. And if you like look into the numbers of what you get from the boosts, it's always very like vague. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to understand these things. You know, I actually had several phone calls with somebody that worked for Facebook marketing trying to help promote the podcast about like a year or so ago. And this lady was trying to help me, you know, talking about like how I should post things and what I should do on videos and how to create audiences and all this stuff. And I did it legitimately I put a lot of money in, did it very steadily, you know, 2-3 times a week for like half a year. Sure. And at the end of it, all I had was numbers. Yeah. That was it. Yeah. I really didn't know if I had any new fans. I wasn't seeing any more comments. It wasn't like followers weren't really growing. It was just more views. It's like, I don't give it's like, this doesn't seem like real. Like, right. Like, how do I know there just isn't like some like, you know, robot at Facebook that's like cycling through links and adding up these clicks? Like, how do I know anybody's actually seeing this shit?
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And you don't know. And that's the thing. And you can't call. I mean, I got an email from somebody about a week ago because I ran some campaigns, and they're like, you know, if you want to give us a call, we could give you a tutorial on how to. And I'm just like, well,
that's what I did.
Yeah, so it's just like, yeah, I guess I don't know. How did that go? Is it worthwhile or what? I mean, apparently you said it wasn't, but
it was interesting. I think it was interesting talking to that person. It was interesting having somebody walk you through all of the nitty gritty of how like the ads manager works on Facebook. But in the long run, it just didn't, I don't know. It didn't really pan out. And, you know, is that a result of Facebook, or is that a result of my content just not being that good or that interesting to a different demographic of people? I am doing a rather niche thing here, you know, like talking to underground artists, most of them who are Pittsburgh based, not always, but most. And the fact that, you know, an episode might even get like a couple thousand views is kind of remarkable, because when's the last time any of us had that many people at a show?
Yeah, right. Exactly. 100%.
But, you know, it can be disheartening sometimes if you're like, you know, looking at like a Joe Rogan or somebody's show that gets like, you know, 1 million views in a day, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like I know I'm not on that level, but like, wow, the numbers are wildly different here. And like when I was looking into like sponsorships, you know, so many sponsorships and people that are like, you know, like legitimate, like will like fund your goddamn show, like real sponsors, they're not even going to like look at your podcast if it's getting less than 20,000 downloads a week. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm lucky if I get that in a month.
Right.
It's like, man, and I try, you know, but it's like, you know, what am I going to do? Just, you know, turn my podcast into a sports show? Like, I don't want to change what I'm doing, because I think that's what makes the show cool.
Right.
But there's this acceptance of just like, well, this is what it is. I don't think that, you know, there are, unfortunately, I know God, if there were like hundreds of thousands of people in the Pittsburgh area that were interested in local music, I wouldn't have to do this show to begin with.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man.
So
it works.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to come to our shows regardless, we wouldn't do anything, you know?
Exactly.
But unfortunately, there's just a lot of twists and turns and trial and error. But that's what makes it, I guess that's what makes it fun, right? That's why we keep doing it.
Well, I think that it is fun. I think that it's just super easy to put yourself in the wrong mind frame and to like take what you have for granted. Yeah. You know, I think I did that for a very long time. I didn't appreciate the fact that, like, you know, there was 50 people in a room to see me play. I wanted it to be 500.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wish that I would have appreciated that a little bit more in the past, because, you know, maybe I could have rubbed some people the wrong way. I could have acted like a turd. I could have done this or that. Whereas, you know, if I would have appreciated it, maybe it would have built quicker.
Yeah. I always joke around and say that bands and music are it's like having a real shitty ex-girlfriend, where it just treats you like shit. You're like, I'm done. I'm finished with this. And then an opportunity comes up. You want to do this show? And you're like, guess so. You know, it's just, you just can't quit. And no matter how many times it's gotten all of us down, it's, you know, it's just worth the aggravation, I guess, for me.
Yeah. I think
it's fun to bitch about, you know, for sure.
Well, I mean, like, it's like, we have to do something.
Yeah.
We're here, and I don't fault anybody for however they want to spend their time. But if you got, if you have rock and roll in your DNA, you got to be on a stage. That's really all there is to it.
This year is killing me, man. I want to play so bad. We played one show this year, and that was back in June, and it was a socially distanced show at a drive-in, and it was cool. It was fun to get out and play again, and it was great turnout. And then we're like, well, this kind of sucks. This might be the only time we play this year, and sure enough, it really was. And the other guys in the band, I haven't even really seen them, just like sporadically. You know what I mean? We've had these Zoom calls and. But yeah, it'll be fun. Hopefully this year coming up will be a little bit different, and we'll be able to get out and play again, and all will be back to normal again. Then we could bitch about everything else again.
Yeah. I'm really curious to see what the landscape is like whenever things come back. I really have no idea what it's going to be like, like how weird are clubs going to be? Are clubs going to start taking care of their microphones? Are people going to come out to shows? Are we going to have to charge more for shows? Is it going to be more expensive to drink at the bar? Is it going to be cheaper to drink at the bar? Are people even going to want to come out? Where are we even going to play? Is there going to be a place for us to play? And there's going to be a million fucking bands trying to play at the same place. Is going to be harder to get shows. Yeah. Or are you going to look like an asshole if you're playing shows, even if it's okay? So many questions.
Yeah, man. It's going to be strange, but I imagine the first couple shows around Pittsburgh, and no matter where they are, I would imagine they're going to be jam packed if they can be. But yeah, it's so weird to think that with everything that's going on, especially right now in present day, is just. It's hard to imagine a venue packed full of people with no restrictions. And it's just how long will that actually take we're not getting any younger, you know what I mean? And it's nerve wracking, but in the meantime, we're just going to keep on writing more music and putting it out, hopefully. And so that'll give us an excuse to kind of write more music, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of me has, I miss not playing shows, but I have also enjoyed the time to focus on other things, which has been cool. There's this weird thing, I think, where, when you're an independent musician that's also has a full-time job and this and that in your life, you really don't ever actually get to take that break from music or put a lot of time into just focusing on it, because you're always stressed about the next thing, and with not having to play shows or not even being able to, it's been a lot, a little weight off my shoulders personally, just because it's well, I have a weekend where I can actually do things around the house, or I could just work on recordings or do whatever, which is cool.
Yeah. It's stuff like you said, it's when you're in and you're in the band and you're completely active, you always feel like you're doing so many things for the band, and you don't have time to do it. But like you said, it is cool to do other things, just go out, maybe go to a couple bars or something like that. But in the long run, it's just you kind of miss doing what it is that drives you crazy too. It's just I don't know. All I know is I really want to get back out there and play, and hopefully that's sooner than later.
Agreed. So we had mentioned before, we were talking about Spotify, and you had a new song that was out on Spotify, and you have a new video that's available on that YouTube, if you've heard of the YouTube. So why don't we talk just a bit about that real quick? Yeah. Let the people know about this ding dong song you got going on.
We got a new song out. It's called "I Should Have Known Better." It was very, very unique in the fact that we recorded the song and wrote the song basically exactly how me and you were talking right now. We had Zoom interviews. We had Zoom conference calls. So when we were writing the song, we made sure we had conferences with our producer Sean McDonald from Pittsburgh. And we all wrote the song collectively over Zoom meetings. None of us really got together. It was real weird. And we'd get together on a certain night, and we'd make changes, add things. And then when we recorded the song, we actually recorded it in the room I'm in right now, which is at my house. It's just my little home studio. We actually, I shouldn't say recorded it. We tracked the song here, except for the drums that we tracked with Sean McDonald up at his studio. And then we went back to his studio to do the vocals, but all the guitars, keys, bass, and everything was done just right here. It's the first time we've ever done that. And I can remember saying to him, is this going to, I mean, sonically, is it going to sound okay? Because we don't, like, I just got done telling you that we don't really do anything DUI, or DIY. But here we are, we're gonna send all these things to you. They're gonna, like, trust me, it'll be fine. So he really busted his ass to make it sound good. So the song is out now on Spotify. And we actually, in the meantime, did a video and recorded it with our buddy Chris Sikra. And he made a really cool video for us. And it was, like I said, it was very strange because, like, in between takes, of the video, we all had to put our masks on, and, just everyone that was working on the video. It was a very, very frustrating time to do all this. And it was cool that we got to do it, but I don't know if I'd want to do it this way again. It was very, very grueling and frustrating. And something, you don't realize, you don't appreciate how easy it is when you're all in the same room together and you could just be writing the song and recording it. But it wasn't like that. But it came out. It just recently got picked up on the X for one of their the Hometown for the Holiday bands that they do every year. And it'll be in rotation on the X for the month of December. And then, yeah, it's video's been getting pretty good views, and our Spotify plays have been boosting because of it. So it's we're happy. We're pretty happy about it.
That's awesome. So, now at this point, you're still just working on stuff, doing Zoom calls. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen, when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah. It's kind of been the same for me, but not quite, because luckily we had already had some stuff done. So just focusing a lot on, like, recording, and I record pretty much everything in this room as well. So, we're releasing an album next month. That'll be fun. That's with Normal Creatures. Greywalker just recorded last weekend too, but we like basically did it all in shifts. Like, it's like everybody doesn't have to be in the room at the same time. So we just kind of like just traded off duty on that, which was cool. So that'll be fun. I don't know when the fuck that's coming out. It still has to get mixed and stuff, but so that's pretty much it. We've filmed a couple videos. We've done stuff that we could with, like, the smallest skeleton crews we could possibly find. But it's getting to a point now where, like, it's kind of lost its, like, it's lost its spunk. There was a time where it was like, yeah, we could still do stuff. We'll make it work. And now I'm kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not excited about this anymore. Did you do any, like, live streaming shows or performances or anything like that?
Not with the band. I did one with Chad Tyson from DVE. He was doing this right, like, back in March. He was doing this little series. It was called Staying Home and At, and he would have live streams from the website or from their Facebook page, and I did one of those. But in the meantime, what I did is one of my guilty pleasures is also singing karaoke. I love to sing karaoke, and so what I actually did was I actually videoed myself doing a couple karaoke songs just for the joy of having people give something for people to watch. And so I did that. And but as far as live streaming concerts, we haven't really done any of that. We're not a very good acoustic band. We're just like, it's either we bring the rock or it's nothing at all.
Yeah. That's really funny that you did the karaoke videos. I didn't really see anybody doing that. I feel like you could have really capitalized on that.
I should have put out a few more. I did one. I don't know if you ever see the movie Rockstar with Paul. Did that song "We All Die Young"?
Okay.
I did a video of me doing that, and it got, like, a lot of people were like, dude, that's fucking awesome. I made a caption. I said, I hope I did it better than Marky Mark. It's not really Marky Mark singing that song, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. But it was. I love to do that. It's a nice little escape from reality.
Mm-hmm. So with everything being said, everything being done here, what are you doing to keep yourself occupied these days outside of the band and outside of thinking about, the end of the world? What does Jon do when he's not a werewolf? Is my question.
I'm enjoying lots of Miller Lite with my buddies. My friends that I know don't have coronavirus.
Sure.
We'll come over here and we'll just have a few beers, and obviously I spend time with my family, and don't really get to go out and do anything as far as like restaurants or go out and dating girls or anything like that. But some of the times, just we did a couple of those things. Are you familiar with that house party app?
Yes.
Okay, we did a couple of those and they were fun. But other than that, man, it's been a pretty boring year.
Yeah.
What about you? What do you do?
A lot. I don't know, man. I recorded 3 albums. I have the podcast. Yeah. Still going to work, still hanging out. With some people. I see like the people in the band. That's about it.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
So yeah, I mean, we went out to eat like a couple times. It's been like, it's a little bit easier probably here because like I live like 5 minutes from the stadiums. So we're like in the middle of everything. So like there was like a couple weeks where I was like, oh, I guess it's like okay to kind of go out again. So we're like kind of going out. Then everybody's like, stop it. And they're like, okay, fine.
Right.
It
was kind of like I'm a member to an old man's club around here. And, we always joke around because it's called the East Bell Vernon Athletic Club. We actually filmed our video there.
Okay.
So we go there, and they've kind of in the summertime when things calmed down, we were going there, but they had the tables like distanced apart. So, but now it's just things are getting bad again, and it's just I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. With the holidays. This Thanksgiving was the absolute weirdest Thanksgiving I've ever had. It was just me, my mom, and my dad. Usually our Thanksgivings are a lot bigger than that.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's a weird time. But I keep it in my mind that it'll get better. Whatever, no big deal.
Absolutely. So before we wrap everything up here, before the train's round in the station, where can people find out more about Gene the Werewolf? Do you guys have a website on the internet?
We do. On it is it www.genethewerewolf.com. You can go there, and obviously we're on all the social media sites. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Do you handle all that stuff, or do you have somebody? Does one of the other guys handle all that stuff?
Me and Drew do mostly. The other guys are kind of just like. They're just like, oh, cool, we have Twitter. but yeah, it's usually me or Drew. Yeah, I mean, and there's not very many bands out there called Gene the Werewolf. So I'm sure if you type in Gene the Werewolf, it's easy to find. But yeah, man, and YouTube too. Our videos on YouTube. So yeah, all the socials, and we do have the .com, and that's it.
Groovy. Well, with all that being said, I'm going to do my outro, and then I'm going to let you get going on your evening, because we have done the thing. We have chitted the chats. We've talked the talks. We've kept everyone's attention for an hour. And I think that's plenty enough. I hope everyone out there listening enjoys the rest of their day. I hope they have a productive afternoon or evening or morning. And hey, all the luck from me and Jon to you. Right. Well, with that being said, that is all, folks. Thanks so much for being here. One more time. Jon, Gene the Werewolf, the Yin and Yang, the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Thanks for being here. I'll be back again in a couple days with another episode. Same time, same place, same channel. You know the drill. My name is Sykes. Start the Beat 2020. Woo woo! Thanks for listening. And we're done. That's a podcast. We made it happen, my friend.